And in this example, we are going to be using the slope to graph various linear functions. Now, so far we have been able to graph linear functions given 2 points. In this example, we're going to be given 1 point, and from that point, we're going to use the slope to locate other points located on the line. So in order to do this, we have to return to the definition of slope. The slope is the change in the output variable divided by the change in the input variable. Now with regard to the graph, remember that the output is always plotted on the vertical axis, the y-axis. So a change in the output can be thought of as a vertical displacement. The change in the input can be thought of as a horizontal displacement. Because the input variable is always plotted on the horizontal axis. So vertical displacement, that means basically the distance up or down. So when we go to graph these functions, from our starting point, the slope is going to tell us how far up or down to go from that starting point and how far right or left. The trick is when you look at a slope, you're looking at a fraction. The number on top is going to tell you the distance up or down. That is the change in the output. So if that number on top is positive, it tells you the distance up. If it's negative, it'll tell you the distance down. So the distance up if it's positive, or down if it's negative. Similarly, in the denominator, it's going to tell you the distance right or left. If the number is positive, you're going to move to the right. If it's negative, you're going to move to the left from that starting point. So let me show you how this works. Take this first example. We have -2, -3. So here's -2, down 1, 2, 3. There's -2, -3. Now, looking at our slope, we have 1/2. A positive 1 in the numerator, right there, tells us that from this starting point, we're going to move up 1 unit. A positive 2 in the denominator tells us that we're going to move to the right 2 units. So starting from this point here, this -2, -3, you have to have a point to start from. You're going to move up 1 unit and to the right 2 units. There is another point on this line. Again, move up 1 unit, to the right 2 units. There's another point. Up 1 unit, to the right 2 units. The nice thing about this method is that it can be repeated over and over and over again. You can find as many points on this line as you want. Now once you have as many as you need, go ahead and get your straight edge out. Connect the dots as neatly as possible. There you have your linear function. Alright, so moving on to example part B. Here we have the point 0, -1, so I'm going to go ahead and plot that. There's 0, -1 right there. Now this time our slope is -2/3, so we have to decide what to do with that negative sign. Now the number -2/3, kind of breaking this up a little bit, you could think of this as -2 over a +3. Alright, that works. You could think of it as a +2 over a -3. What you can't do is think of it as -2 over -3. If you look at this last option here, a negative over a negative is a positive. That's not the same thing, so that one won't work. These other two will, though, numerically. So looking at this first one, -2 over +3, that one tells me to go down 2 units and right 3. This one right here tells me to go up 2 units, and the -3 on the bottom tells me to go left 3. Alright, now that may seem like 2 totally different directions. In fact, it is. But watch what happens here. Again, here's our starting point. From here, we're going to go down 2 units, so down 1, 2, and then to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's do it one more time, just because we can. Down 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. There's another point on the line. Suppose instead we went up 2 and left 3. There's up 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. That new point falls right in line with the others. All right, so it doesn't matter which direction you go, these points will fall on the same line. All right, so there is the line for part B. Now part C, you have the point 2, 1, so let's graph that. There's 1, 2, 1, right about there. And the slope is 3. Now in order for this process to work, the slope has to be a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite 3 as 3 over 1. And also notice that we can consider it to be negative 3 over negative 1. That works as well. So looking at this first option, this tells us to go up 3, right 1. The second one would tell us to go down 3 and left 1. All right, either way, the points should fall on exactly the same line. So from this starting point, go up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 1, and do it again, 1, 2, 3, right 1, okay? You could also go the other way, down 1, 2, 3, right 1, down 1, 2, 3, right 1, and so forth. All right, now you guys have a nice little grid to work with. I'm trying to do this without the grid lines, so your lines should come out a little bit more nicely than mine did. All right, but they should fall right on a straight line. All right, so part D. You have the point 1, negative 4, and the slope is 0. So here's 1, negative 4. Draw your point there. Now the slope of 0, you can think of that as 0 over 1. So from your starting point, you're going to go up or down 0. So you're just going to stay right there, to the right 1, to the right 1, to the right 1. That's enough. Connect the dots, and you have your horizontal line. Now for part E, you have the point 5, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2. And you're told that the slope is undefined. Now here's where you have to remember that if you have an undefined slope, that means that the line is vertical. Only a vertical line will have an undefined slope. So the vertical line is going to be right here, passing through x is equal to 5. All right, a quick check whenever you are plotting a linear function using the slope. Remember that if the graph is increasing, the slope is positive. All right, working backwards, if the slope is positive, you know your line should be increasing. That's just a really quick check to make sure you've graphed it correctly. If the graph is decreasing, the slope should be negative. If it's horizontal, the slope should be 0. And if it's vertical, the slope is undefined. All right, remember this. Draw a box around it here. This is going to be a very quick, easy check to make sure you have the line drawn correctly.